I think I drove right to your apartment, and we hung out. And one night I invited you to come to church, and at the time you weren't interested in God.
Right.
You were so turned off.
I was an atheist, yeah. Big into atheism, big into rebuking anybody who would follow God, pretty much trying to convert Christians back to the side of non-believing. Just a lot of hatred for God, really. I mean, you can't hate God and not believe in him at the same time, but that's what I was doing.
Welcome to another episode of A Conversation with Josh Field. I'm your host, Josh Field. I'm super excited for another episode on this podcast. It's been great. It's been a great run. But today we have a very, very special guest, someone who's very close to me. We went to middle school together. We went to high school together. I moved to Houston. We went to the same college here in Houston together. We were roommates for 2 years, and we worked at a car dealership, shout out to Westside Lexus, for 2 years together. And he moved back to Pierre Part, Louisiana, but he's here back in Houston. So please help me welcome the one and only Jensen Landry.
What's up, what's up?
How you feeling, bro?
Good to be here.
Good to be back in Houston.
Yeah, excited to tell people where the bread is.
Yeah, dude, I love it. So tell me, you're engaged to Kaylee. Shout out to Kaylee.
Shout out to Kaylee.
Beautiful girl.
And Mary Lane.
And Mary Lane. Exactly. Y'all met at church, right?
Yeah.
How long y'all been dating before y'all got engaged?
I think like 8 months.
Nice. You were ready. You knew she was the one.
Yeah.
Nice. So I want to know. I heard you tell me a little bit about it. How'd you propose? How did that? Because that's a big deal. Like you don't just propose all the time. Like, this is a one in a lifetime thing. How did that go?
Well, had the restaurant picked out. Tried to make a plan. She's really smart.
Yeah.
It's hard to get stuff by her. So
you were surprising her.
I was trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to the restaurant, and she went to the bathroom, and I told the waiter, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about proposing. What do you think? Like, should I do it?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Don't do it here." He's like, "Go somewhere better." I'm like, "Dude, like, I got the ring in my pocket." I'm like, "Oh well." So we go home, and on the way home, I'm like feeling the ring. I'm like, "Dang, like, should I pull over?"
So you didn't do it at the restaurant?
No.
The waiter.
I was trying to make a second plan.
Yeah, so you're on your way home.
So eventually we just got home and I just did it in the driveway, dropped to one knee right there,
And she said yes.
Yeah, I just made it happen.
Wow, that's kind of cool because if you think about it, it's like a you and her moment rather than like a show for everyone at the restaurant.
Right.
It was like, now it's a memory y'all get to tell y'all kids that y'all...
She didn't want me to do it in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You got to do it the way she wanted it done. Maybe it was God's plan. Well, dude, I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast, here in the studio, here in Houston. Drove a long ways to get here. I know you obviously from middle school, high school, and even the past few years, your life has seen, I feel like, a huge 180 turn. You were when I remember you in middle school, you were like, I remember one time you broke your arm and you were in a cast and you ran in the locker room and you were banging your cast on the locker and you were like, ah, and I was like, this guy's crazy. Like, this is a crazy wild guy. Like, he's out there. And like, you would do backflips in the ponds off of your bicycle. Like, you were very like adventurous and wild. But now, like, I want people to hear where you are now, but like, you're plugged into the church, you're leading the youth, you're engaged, you're getting ready to get married here in a few months. Mm-hmm. Let's walk through that journey of Jensen in middle school, and let's get to Jensen today and talk about how powerful that testimony is.
Yeah, well, just like most, I was in middle school searching for my identity, trying to find out who we are coming into adulthood, and just looking in the wrong places, grew up in a different environment, not like the best one, I would say, and just going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction the whole way through,
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and taking whoever with me that I could.
I remember we met at well, we don't have to mention the name. We met at a party, and it was my very first, like, party from a public school, and I was in 8th grade, you were in 7th grade, so 13 and 12, and you pulled me aside. We didn't know each other that well. We were, like, we had a mutual best friend, but you and I didn't hang out that much. And you were like, hey, Josh, I know where some vodka is. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm down. Like I was like also on the rebellious side, and we went out of the party. Tell that story. Like you tell it from your perspective. I feel like that was our first like moment we connected.
Yeah, not something I'm proud of.
Yeah,
but,
same here. But you're not there anymore.
Right. So I think I was 12 years old and you were 13, and just like always wanted to be the first one to do the worst thing, I guess. Just had that mentality. And we just got drunk, and you know, it wasn't.
It was like, I think it was mostly like just to do it.
Right.
It wasn't
definitely.
Like, it was like to show other people.
Right. I think that's what the root was, you know, just trying to prove ourselves, like, hey, look at us, we're bad.
Yeah, and I feel like for both of us, we kind of grew up in a home that, you know, like my dad wasn't always, like, I grew up in a divorced family, you as well, and we didn't have, I feel like that good identity in, like, you know, I didn't always have someone to tell me, hey, I'm proud of you. Hey, son, I'm proud of you. Right. And I feel like we were trying to get that affirmation through friends and through influence, through older people who are in the grade above us. And I feel like, you know, for you, like you said, you were going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. Where did that lead you going into, like, high school? Because I remember, bro. Yeah. I know where you were.
I would say just trying to be the most aggressive, you know, trying to be the most violent, the most rebellious, getting into drug dealing, you know, because growing up, like, I don't know about you, but drug dealing was a prosperous position from my perspective anyway. It was like, you know, he's somebody, you know, he's got money, he's got, you know, people, you know, he's got connections, he's got friends. So I was just putting my all into that and just, you know, taking that identity on myself and being proud of it, you know.
Yeah. Not really thinking about my future, but more thinking like, man, I got money now.
Right.
I got drugs now. I got a party because I got all the connections.
Right.
Now is very good. And I feel like when we're in that environment, it's kind of hard to be like, man, what's my future look like? Right. If I go to jail, what's my record look like? If I get a record, what's my job gonna look like? And in those moments, I was there too. Like I wasn't thinking about stuff. I knew people who sold drugs. I didn't sell drugs, but I would see, bro. And this isn't like saying like, oh, like you would, but I remember, bro. I would like pull up to a gas station, and you had the coolest truck in town. Jensen had like a midnight blue Silverado with a Cadillac grill, like an Escalade custom grill in the front with like blue HIDs with rims. Like it was like 16, had the coolest truck in town, and he'd pull up to a gas station and had tint. Shout out to whoever sings this song. He's like, I got tint. Never mind, I'm just saying it's a bad lyric. But he had tint so dark you couldn't see in it, and he'd pull up, and like one time you rolled your window down, I was like, who's even in there? You rolled your window down, and like smoke poured out, and you were just looking, you were like, hey, y'all need some weed, and I was like, dang, bro, like, no, but like you're that guy.
Yeah,
like
I was that guy.
You were that guy, and luckily, bro, like you didn't stay there.
Right.
You that was what, sophomore year?
Yeah, sophomore,
and
junior.
So sophomore year, junior year, you're waist deep in. Have you gone to jail at all? Like,
yeah, so my senior year of high school, with my girlfriend at the time, I got arrested. I had already picked what college I was going to. I graduated already, and I was up there, you know, like I was making some money. I thought I had it figured out. I planned on moving out of state. And then I got arrested, pulled over. There was like 5 cops there. And
what happened? Why did they pull you over?
For a burnt tail light, but then they caught me with drugs and
wow.
You know, so I didn't think I would be able to go to school. But
so you went to jail on the spot?
Yeah.
Your girlfriend was with you?
Yeah.
Y'all both went?
No, just me.
You went, and walk me through that. Like what was going through your head? Like,
I was just like,
this is the first time you're going to jail.
Yeah, I was just, you know, not feeling like there was any kind of coming back. I was just like, you know, it's over. It was inevitable that I would get to this point. Like, wow. I probably wasn't going to be anything special anyway, you know.
Wow.
I wasn't big on goals or aspirations. And, you know, luckily I was able to get out of that environment, you know, and move out of state, go to school somewhere else.
And that's where you and I connected.
Yeah.
So, wow, dude. You may have told me that story. I don't know if I knew that. So, in the heat of getting ready for college to move to Texas to come to Universal Technical Institute, UTI.
I was in probation.
You were on probation.
Oh, yeah.
You had got arrested.
All kind of fines and fees and reporting back to Louisiana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I was a year ahead of you. So I was at UTI. I'm like, I think like a month from graduating, and it was a year trade school, and so let's rewind a little bit. Your senior year in high school, I'm in UTI. I'm like 2 months in, maybe a couple weeks, and I go back to Louisiana to go to like a get together party, and I was like, I'm just saying, I'm like so like happy that I'm in school with all these high school.
You're in your uniform.
I was in my
huh?
uniform. I was in my UTI uniform. I pull up, and Jensen rolls up on me, and he's like, yo, that's UTI. I'm gonna go there. And I was like, man, that's awesome. And I turned around, and I didn't say it, but I tell you all the time that I was like, man, I hope this guy can pull through and get out of this environment. But to be honest, I don't see it happening.
Right.
And then, little to my like surprise, 8 months later, you're at school in your brand new uniform, and you're like, "What's up, Josh Field?" And I'm like, "What's up, dude? You made it. You're here." And you stepped out. You got to school, and we went to school together for like a few weeks, months.
I think 5 months, 4 months.
5 months. So walk me through when you moved to Houston. What was that process? I know the story, but like you get in your apartment, where that was.
Moving to Greens Point, they call it Guns Point.
Why?
Because there's so much crime there.
It's the ghetto.
I googled lowest rent on an apartment near UTI.
Wow.
And I picked the first one I seen. The cheapest price I think was like $400 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, and there
my God. Dude, that's sketchy.
My neighbors were getting robbed. Hobos would be stealing my doormat, broken windows all the time. See fights out my windows.
Dude, during Harvey at Greens Point, people were like in kayaks or on floating things, and they were telling people, hey, hop on, we'll take you to dry land. And when they get on, they'd rob them.
Oh.
That was happening at Harvey. It was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's where you were living.
Right.
I would visit you, and like you would just pull up, and it was just like you were scared.
I did it, bro. I made it through it.
You made it through, and like your apartment got broken into. Like they stole your wallet. I was there for that. So let's talk about that. When I graduated from a leadership. Well, it was like more of like an internship, like a leadership thing at TBI. I come home, and God really put you on my heart. And God was like,
You gave me that $40.
Wow.
You can't give me that money. You're like, I don't know, but I just feel like you deserve it. You need this more than I do.
And what was the reason behind that? You needed it for what?
Well, I remember I was like $40 short of my rent that month, but you didn't know it. I don't know, $40, $50, something like that. But I remember I was like, dang, like what can make somebody be so loving, you know?
Yeah. And because I graduated and I was literally on my way home, and I was like, God, do I go back to Louisiana? Do I go back to collision repair? Like it's like that's what I went to school for. And God said, I feel like God like put on my spirit. He said, Houston, Jensen. And it was like I just had that in my spirit. I was like, okay. I think I drove right to your apartment, and we hung out. And one night I invited you to come to church, and at the time you weren't interested in God.
Right.
You were so turned off.
I was an atheist, yeah, big into atheism, big into rebuking anybody who would follow God. You know, pretty much trying to convert Christians back to the side of non-believing. Just a lot of hatred for God, really. I mean, you can't hate God and not believe in him at the same time, but that's what I was doing. Yeah.
And I think I was trying to tell you something, and you were like, Josh, I can prove to you that God's not real.
Right.
And I was like, man.
Started pulling books off the shelf.
Started putting books off the shelf, and I don't know, bro. Like I just kept hanging out with you. And then one night, I'm like, hey, we're having a young adult service, bro. Like, I don't know if you want to come, but if I do more pull-ups than you on this pull-up bar, you had a pull-up bar in your hallway, I was like, you got to come to church. And you were like, I don't know. All right. And I don't think I did more than you. I think you did more than me.
I don't see you doing more than me.
I don't think I did more than you. I think you did a bunch, and I did like 3. And then I was like, bro, like if that's going to be the reason you're going to come, just come. Like you said you were going to come. And I remember you went.
I remember having the mentality like, I'm going to go and then you're going to know. Like, I'm going to prove to you, you know. And then this thing's going to be settled. Because I had so much anger towards you, you know.
Yeah.
Just not anything personal, just like what you stood for. And it just really stirred something up and made me really bitter. I remember you'd have all the videos and the Stephen Furtick on when I'd come home, dude. And I'd be like, bro, I'm this close to fighting this dude. Like, you know. Yeah.
Because, for people who don't know, you end up coming, you raised your hand and got saved that night.
Yeah.
And, like, you graduate from UTI, and I went back to the school. I did some like a summer camp there, and then you graduate and I finished, and then we became roommates.
Yeah.
And you were like, bro, I just landed this sick job at Lexus. They're hiring. You want to come through? And I was like, sure. We got the job together, and that's when I feel like you really wrestled with God, with me, with faith, with your past, and like what were you, like you said, like I would have like Stephen Furtick or worship on, and you'd be like, you would say stuff like, man, can't we just watch a real movie? Or like, can't we just listen to real music?
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like, you know, what did that look like from your perspective?
It's just a slow chipping away at my heart, you know, breaking down all the strongholds and my view of what I think a man should be like, and, you know, what culture has shaped me to believe, stuff like that.
And I feel like I wasn't trying to change you.
That's the beauty of it.
I was just, I was letting you do you, but I wanted to do me, and I was in love with the God who saved me, man.
Yeah.
Like you, God transformed my life, and I was in love with it, and that's just what I was doing, and I guess God put the strength in me not to change, and we just kept going back and forth, and we got to a point where you wouldn't even ride with me to work.
Yeah.
We would carpool, and I was like, I remember one morning I was like you had been driving yourself. You were like, you would wait, and I was like, bro, do you not like saving money? We live like an hour from work, one way. Like, why do you not want to ride? And you were like, no, I'm gonna ride by myself. And I was like, it's getting bad.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Like when it got really bad, when we were at Lexus, and you hit we hit like mutual friends of ours had passed, and
Yeah. Well, my grandpa and my sister, I lost them both in the same week. I was having all these problems with people at work, and just, you know, when it rains, it pours, and it would just keep coming, and basically I didn't have any hope. I was just relying on my own strength, and it wasn't working out. I didn't have any kind of leadership from God, you know, and anything that you were trying to give me, I was rejecting fully, you know. And I remember just being at the lowest point, and you telling me that you can't do it in your own strength, and that it's not supposed to be how you're trying to do it, you know, and just being open to that and letting God come in just a little bit versus, you know, completely shutting him out. And looking back at it, I think that the reason that God put us together like that is because I would never have placed myself in any kind of Christian environment. Like, I would have ran 100 miles away from that. So luckily, like, he put somebody in place that could slowly chip away and break down those walls.
Man, and your grandma was a heavy Christian, right?
Yeah.
She was always praying for you.
I wasn't hearing it, though.
Yeah, you were so turned off from it, and then I don't
Luckily,
think...
she was praying for me.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably the reason you and I, like, you know, got close. But I don't think God brought in those, and I know you don't think so either, but just to be clear, I don't think God brought in those losses to get you closer to him. But I remember seeing you, and I talked to the young adult pastor at our church, and I was like, hey, I got this buddy, my roommate. He's open to the idea of God every once in a while, but he's really, really just, I feel like, attached to the lifestyle he enjoys living, you know, and it's what we grew up in, and he can't really, I feel like he can't really break it off. And he told me, he said, there's going to come a time where the things that he's used to fulfilling him is going to run out. And when it gets to that point, you got to be there and say, I don't have all the answers, but I know who does. And dude, I remember seeing you. We were on our way home from work, and dude, it was an insane experience for me to see you go through. You lost your grandfather. You went home for the funeral, and before you could even come back, you lose your little sister. And like, I've never experienced anything like that. And I was like, holy mess, like, this is nuts. And then you get back, and I can just see it. You're just like beaten up by life. And we're on our way home from work, and I don't know if you mind me sharing this, but you got into tears, and you were like, I don't know where to turn. And I was like, holy mess, like, this is what the young adult pastor told me to tell you. And I was like, look, man, I don't have all the answers, but I know the God who does. And I feel like that's when you had that hope. You had that, like, you were like, man, maybe I need to give God another chance. And you were at Lexus, what, another few months
Yeah.
before you moved back to Louisiana?
Yeah, a few months, and then I moved back, living in a ungodly relationship, you know, so not going all in.
Yeah,
know,
so
staying on the fence.
so I mean, you weren't even like, we weren't plugged into church at the time. I was, but you weren't like, you weren't all in here. So when you left, you were like, all right, yeah, like God, like you were, I feel like you said, like God, like chipped off a little bit more of that heart, and it was like you were getting to that closer to the idea, and you moved back in what, 2017 and
18.
2018? Yeah, and you were trying to go to church, right?
I wasn't at first, and then after, you know, God working on me, the relationship I was in, like, there was just tension because of it, like, unequally yoked. Like, I was trying to live for God, and she wasn't, and luckily, like, God ended that, but, you know, it's just not something that you can make work. You gotta, you know, you gotta be equally yoked. You can't do it for anybody else.
Yeah, and it's not easy to end any type of relationship, even if it's hard. Like, I remember you calling me and being like, dude, like, was this the right decision? Like, was I supposed to be in that relationship? Why did I leave? And you were just really like, you needed guidance,
Right.
and you were telling me that, and I was like, man, like, obviously, you need good community,
Yeah.
and so you were. But I remember, dude, you were like posting pictures or sending me pictures of like you were like your mom was going to church, your dad was going to church. Like, didn't y'all go to like that church in Laplace by the Jubilee?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a relationship. You know,
Yeah.
it was just visiting.
You were just trying to go, and
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. Is like
Yeah.
taking that step, man. Of like, I'm gonna at least try to, you know. I feel like a lot of people. I don't know if this is. I think it's biblical, but people say like, meet God super with your natural. Like, kind of give him something to work with. He'll meet you. God meets you where you are. So give him something to work with.
Yeah, that was my biggest, I think, the thing that I struggled with the most going into it was like, hey, Josh, like, I could do what you're doing and all, and it looks great and all, but, like, you don't know what all I did. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know. Like, I can't just go make that transition and be that guy. And I think that's what always kind of held me back is just, you know, my past is too bad. Like, my mess is too big. Like, God can never work with that. Like, he did it for you, and that's awesome. Like, good for you. Like, you don't know me, but
Yeah.
luckily God sees you.
He
know?
meets you where you are.
Right.
Man. So
Sure does.
I love that, dude. I love that. So you're back in Louisiana. You're looking for a church. You're looking for a good community, and you reach out to me, and you're like, bro, I need a guy like you here.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy. And lo and behold, a friend of mine who I served in youth with at Lakewood for a solid year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, became really good friends. And he had got a scholarship, I believe, to go play baseball at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, which is like where we grew up, down the street from where we grew up. And I was like, I bet this would be a great person.
Yeah.
And I gave him your number, or did I give you his number?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think I gave you his number and
Yeah.
texted him and was like, hey, Jensen's going to text you to see how serious you were.
Yeah.
And my friend texted me right away and was like, hey, Jensen hit me up. Like, you were serious. You were committed. And now, like, he got you plugged into a church.
Right. Well, what had happened was I was like, you know what, God? Like, I've been trying to do this in my own strength, keep hitting these walls, you know, life. Like, I'm just never going to get where I need to be, you know, to be happy by myself. And so I went all in. I found a church in Pierreport. I just picked one and just walked through the door, you know, just by myself. And,
Yeah.
and I was going there, and things were going great, you know. I was really feeling like God was meeting me where I was at. He was feeding me. And I said, Josh, like, I'm so excited, you know, get pumped up and call you. Like, I'm excited God's doing something in my life. Like, I feel like he's really, you know, making a change in my heart and just doing all kind of stuff for me. And but I said, I'm just not getting the fellowship that I need. You know, I'm not getting the community that I need with believers my age. You know,
Right.
basically, I feel like these things that I'm going through are just my problems, and like nobody can relate to me. And that's whenever you said, all right, well, I got somebody that I can hook you up with, and thank God that he opened a door and made a way, you know.
And
that
then-
brought me into my next season.
And then
Going
through that, what happened?
Went to another church, found my new church, got plugged in there. Went out my comfort zone, really.
Yeah.
I don't like meeting too many new people and stuff like that.
You'd call me. You'd be like, bro, I'm on my way to this like life group.
Bible study, yeah.
Bible
the first
study. You're
Bible
like,
study.
bro, I don't know anybody.
I was like, bro, like, I'm just gonna have to bust up in there and just be this new person. I was like, I don't know. I passed up the house. I'm like, I don't know. Do I need to go? I'm
Yes.
like, is this really important? And I was praying, and then I went there, and they welcomed me in with open arms, you know.
Shout out to
House
is it
prayer. Shout out.
Jesse, right?
Jesse.
Jake.
Jake.
Bedevian, the legend.
Yes, sir.
Name them out. I met a few of
Jesse,
them.
Jake, Kyle, let's see, Bailey.
Bailey.
Who else we got? Don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That's-
Blaze, my boy
There he
Blaze.
goes. I was like, wait, there's somebody else. Man. So, dude, I love your story, and so actually we have a little surprise. We're here. We're talking about, you know, getting the house of prayer, getting in this good community. But how about we come back for another episode, and we'll have a special guest with us to continue this conversation. But that's the end of this one. We're going to leave it at that. This is a conversation with Josh Field and Jensen Landry. And please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share this to someone who you think might need to hear it. It'll bless anyone who does. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of A Conversation with Josh Field. Hey, we don't want to close this opportunity without giving you a chance to dedicate your life to the Lord. If you've never done that, the Bible says it's as easy as A, B, C. A, admit you're a sinner. B, believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord. And C, confess with your mouth that Jesus died for your sins. So if you want to do that, repeat this simple prayer after me. Jesus, I'm a sinner in need of a Savior. Wash me clean. Make me new. Today I choose to make you Lord of my life. If you prayed that prayer, we believe you just got born again, and heaven is rejoicing that you are now welcome into eternity in heaven. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.